Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum class, this is Umaira Saeed and today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic that is related with your course content and it is very much important for the communication, and the topic for today is the minutes of the meeting, and I have written mom on it, and mom doesn't mean that we are going to discuss like mother or the moms, but the minute of the meetings, and mom is the contracted or the abbreviation of the whole of the topic, which is minutes of the meeting. So, let us explore the agenda that today we will discuss the types, the purpose, what one should do before the meeting, and what is the effectivity of writing of the minutes of the meeting. What are the minutes of the meeting and why it is called minutes? Actually, this word was popped out in 18th century as minuta separata, which means a rough draft. It is a formal, or you may say a kind of informal document which one scripted while conversating with or sometimes to record for the future concerns or for some purposes of giving the references or quoting it in in the same scenario in the future is said to be the minutes of the meeting. So, while recording the minutes or while recording the movements or the event, it does not mean that you have to record each and every second or happening during the meeting, but the most important thing which is happening during the session. So, let it make more easy and understandable for you is, students, many of you have seen that when some foreign delegation come in Pakistan or a Prime Minister of Pakistan went out to some other country, the two presidents or the two Prime Ministers when start conversating on the FaceTime, there is a person who is sitting in between them and he is writing. What he would write? What is the purpose of the person, the only person who is sitting in between the discussion of the two Prime Minister? Maybe a translator, but he would write something. What he would write? The person is writing that what is being conversating between, what they are, the two Prime Minister are discussing. Actually, they are not discussing their family matters, they are discussing the issues of the national and the international interest. He is writing that what was said by the Prime Minister of Pakistan, what said by the President of America, what was the suggestions, what was the problem, and what was the opinion was exchanged between the two persons. So, this is what he was taking the notes is said to be the minutes of the meeting. So, whenever something happens, a person who is like sitting on one corner and record what is happening, what one is saying, what was other person is saying is said to record the session. Now, there are so many other ways of recording the session. Sometimes you may have an in-camera session. In-camera session is the replacement of minutes of the meeting, because in-camera session means that there will be no other except the participants and only the person who is chairing the meeting, and you are having a camera recording, or you having two or the three journalists over there who are taking the notes and who are taking what is happening during the session. So, this is the in-camera session as well. So, there are the three different types of the minutes of the meeting. Number one is discussion. Number two is number one is discussion, and number two is action, and number three is verbatim. So, now these are the three types of the minutes of the meeting. Action means that what is happening or what is being discussed is suddenly and abruptly being performed or took an action on this. In March, we see that there was a discussion and a meeting between the Prime Minister of Pakistan and rest of the representative of all the provinces, and what they decided that there must be the complete lockdown in Pakistan, and our schools and institutes were closed from 23rd of the March till yet. So, that was the action of that meeting. Discussion means that there is a topic and you are continuously discussing on it, and the person on the corner is writing regarding to that. Verbatim means that verbally you are like giving them orders, and verbally you are just putting a force and pressure on someone to take a particular action in this regard. Why the purpose? What is the purpose of the minutes of meeting? The purpose is that many of the participants suppose is not taking participation in the meeting because of their own tough or jam-packed schedules. So whatever they would come to know that, so that was the agenda, that was the decision taken by the all the other participants and all the members. And another purpose is for the future concern. Maybe after 3 or 4 years you may stuck in the same situation, and you would come to know like in the previously we had the same scenario, and this was the decision, and that was perfectly cover the all aspects. So this is one of the purpose before a meeting. So what actually meeting is? There is always a purposeful meeting. There is no discussion and no meeting without any purpose. So first of all, you must have an agenda. Before the meeting, the person who used to take the note can be the participant or a general secretary or a secretary or the private secretary or the FDO, whose responsibility is only to take the notes. And what they have to take the notes, like if there are 5 to 6 participants present into the room, so he would write down that what the participant number 1 was saying, and in the argument what was participant number 3 was saying, and what was the end result of the discussion of both two is said to be the minutes of the meeting. And as I mentioned earlier, that the minutes of meeting doesn't mean that you are recording each and every inch being discussed and happened in the during the meeting, but the most important thing which are of a concern rather than irrelevant in unconcerned things or happenings will not be recorded for the future concern as well. So before meeting, first of all you must have an agenda. The secretary who was responsible and who is responsible to arrange a meeting, he would set some agenda, then he would call the participant and make them available and ensure their availability. He would arrange the venue, and he would arrange the mics and pen and the paper, and the time duration will be already given to the participants, so they will come with having no schedule after them. So this is the before meeting happenings. And what happens during the meeting? In a hall, he arranged some good sitting arrangement. If it is in a summer, there must be some cool AC rooms, and if it is some winter, then it must have some other appliances in the room, because while discussion it would be very difficult for the other participant to start covering over themselves or focus on the discussion being happening around them. The second is ensure their availability, take the signs from them, give them a proper seat. The seats should be very comfortable. And now the discussion starts. Everyone knows what is the agenda, and they will discuss the points. It is important for the secretary that while setting an agenda, note down the important points on the paper as well, so that instead of creating some hodgepodge, they may work according to the schedule which is being given to them one day ago, and they will discuss point 1, point 2, point 3 as it was listed, and it was listed by the secretary. The next setting is that while discussing there will be definitely counter arguments, there will be some opposition as well. Now the responsibility of the secretary is to note down all the points which are valid, which have a weight, and which are very much important. And now whatever was discussed and what happened, everything said by the chairperson or by the counter arguments or by the opposition party will be recorded and noted down by the secretary, and later on he will compose it on the papers. He will compartmentalize that these were the participant number 1 said this, participant number 2 said this, and this was the decision, this was the opinion, this was the legislation was passed, and that is how the meeting will be adjourned for the next commencing of the meeting. But the most important thing is the crux out of it. So the crux will be provided in a photocopy form or in a hard copy will be provided to all the participants, so that when the next time they would come, they must have a complete knowledge in the background that what happened in the previous meeting. So these are the minutes of the meeting and the arrangement of the meeting, the conclusion of the meeting. That is very much important, as I have written here, the effectivity of the meeting depends upon that how much vigilant you were in recording all the points which were discussed. It is very much important for the future concern as well. Now we would discuss our simplest format, that how a minute of the meeting can be recorded. Many of you will be familiar that when some news conference occur and we see so many news conferences on the television, we see that the two persons are addressing to the news reporters and they are just taking the notes. What kind of a notes they are taking? They are just not writing down each and every point being said by the speaker or the addressee, but the most important thing, sometimes you also takes the minutes of the meeting, how that when a teacher like me or many other teachers deliver the lectures in the class, so instead of looking at the teacher you start taking notes. So what you do you write each and every word? No, you write the most important aspect or most important points. So some of the students write down only the heading, that what heading the teacher discussed, and later they make their own notes. So these are the notes as well. So notes taking is a primitive activity, but now if it is particular to the meeting, so it becomes the minutes of the meeting. So dear student, here is the very simplest. I am emphasizing more on the simplest format of taking the minutes of the meeting. Every institute, organization, government would have their own templates and their own methods of taking the minutes, because for the future concern and for the record, but I am giving you the very simplest one. Like this is a piece of the paper and you would have a monogram of it if it is official or it is a private organization, and here you would write down the agenda of your meeting, that what was the agenda, why this meeting was arranged, and here you will list the name of the participant and the person who just chaired, like the chairperson's name and the person who was chairing the whole of the meeting will be mentioned here, the time of the meeting, the venue of the meeting, agenda has been discussed, and now here all the minutes will be write down, that what point were in discussion, how many of them favor the point, how many of them negate the point, how many of them were neutral, what the participant number 1 was saying and what the participant number 2 was saying, and what is the actually the crux and what actually come out and what is the end discussion. Here the conclusion note will be written down, and after composing and after writing down all these minutes, it will be signed by the person who was chairing the whole of the meeting, and the copy of this minutes will be provided to all the participants who participated in the whole of session. So this is the minutes of the meeting, and inshallah whenever you join some institute or organization, you would experience all these recording of the events as well physically. So this was the topic for today, and we comprehensively and in a very easiest way discussed the minutes of the meeting. If you will Google, you will find so many other things that were like what are the elements and what are the, but most important thing is that you must have an idea what actually minutes of the meeting is. Your assignment for the making the minutes of meeting will be provided in your WhatsApp group. We will discuss related to the topic in the Zoom discussion, and assignment will be submit in your Google Classroom. So this was the session for today. See you with the next session. Take care. Allah Hafiz.